Right. Yeah. Okay. Hey, yo, C, what up, man? Yo, keep the L's, cause I play strictly for the W, that's our chance, dude. No emotion like Kawhi when I'm focused. I stay ready, train to go cause I'm a pro. There's no off season. I'm LeBron like on the mic, MJ status. I can give two. It's about the opposition, all I know is get them. I'm so disrespectful. There's nothing you can do about it. My dominance reigns supreme, like peace is top with everything. I bring the noise, plus put you on pause. I punish the strong as well as the weak. Vibe Mike MC amongst the elite, and I roll with a championship circle. You don't believe me? Sit down, let's talk about it with my man Cordell Bowser. Yeah, clap it up for him.
Welcome to another episode of Championship Circle, and today I got a special guest. He a vet of the league. I'm gonna say the throwback football, cause you know this new generation football they done got soft. So he played in a hard hitting era of the NFL. But go on and introduce yourself to the listeners.
Hello, listeners. This is Cedric Jones from Weldon, North Carolina. Went to school at Duke University where I was All-American and recently inducted into the Duke Sports Hall of Fame and voted one of the 50th greatest players. Played 9 years at the New England Patriots, finished 10th on the all-time receiving list when I retired, and played in Super Bowl 20. Unfortunately, we lost to the Bears, but had a great experience there in New England for 9 years. Thanks for having me on the show.
And hey, it's been an honor to have you on the show because, like you said, Weldon, North Carolina, that's where I'm from. That's why I rep Weldon Chargers till I die. So I had to bring you on.
Love me some Chargers. Chargers forever.
Oh, yeah. And let's just talk about you growing up. Like, I know you were born in Norfolk. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. And then when I was younger, we lived in New York for a little bit, and then we moved back to North Carolina. My father's from Currituck. My mother's from Currituck County, North Carolina. Lived in New Bern, lived in Raleigh, and then from Raleigh, we moved to Weldon. And, Weldon was a great town, great people, small, intimate, but a lot of pride there, a lot of hard workers, and a lot of people there are responsible for my success because they helped me along the way.
And like you said, it's a small town, so it's like hard to get recognized coming from Weldon. Like we don't have like the blockbuster draft picks like New York or Atlanta. So how was it like growing up in Weldon to be an athlete?
Well, it was good. Weldon had some great athletics at that time. Doc Brown was a basketball coach, and Weldon was always competing in the regionals and trying to get to the state in basketball. And in football, they had some good players. So you had some good athletes. I think it was true for all of Eastern North Carolina at that time that athletes weren't being seen by the UNCs of the world, the NC States, the Ohio States, the Michigans, the Floridas. But there were great athletes from Eastern North Carolina who went on to play. Zach Valentine down at ECU. Tony Collins played ECU, played with me in New England. So there were guys down east who got a chance to play. But I was lucky. I had a guy named Brian McDaniel who was my best friend, and he was an All-State as a junior, and coaches were coming to see him play. And when they saw him play, they saw me, and they're like, well, does this guy play football? And the coach said, yes. Does he have good grades? He goes straight A's. And I was in a basketball game and dumped the ball backwards. And the coaches were there to see Brian and say, well, who is this guy? And coach told him. And then that's how I started, being recruited. And I went to summer camps at NC State for basketball and at UNC. And I thought I'd be a baseball or basketball player, instead of football, because I was undersized in high school. I was skinny, but I was fast. And, so that's kind of the story how I started being recruited.
And I know you said you played basketball, and I see that was one of your first picks, basketball.
Basketball was. I averaged 30 points as a junior and 32 as a senior. And, went to camp and gave it to some guys in camp. So I thought basketball was it. But at 6'1", from a rural area, I never really played the AAUs. I didn't travel that much like the kids do now. So I never really handled the ball that much. I had a 41-inch vertical jump, could score, but, they were looking for pure point guards at the time. So, I was recruited by a few schools, UNC in basketball, but my father and my coach thought that football was the best opportunity for me because I had speed. And with speed, I could play running back. I played quarterback in high school. I could play wide receiver. I could play cornerback, free safety, or I could return punts and kickoffs. So I had 5 or 6 different options. In basketball, I could only play the point guard. So that's how that situation evolved.
So at what level did you come to the point of, oh yeah, football, this is me right here?
Well, probably freshman year, after the 5th game freshman year at Duke, I started off as a running back, and I was good off tackle and good around the end at 160 pounds. But when I ran up the middle, it was a train wreck. So they moved me to Coach McGee, moved me to wide receiver, and it kind of took off from wide receiver. I was 12th on the depth chart when they moved me over. And by the 5th game, a couple guys got hurt, a couple guys got injured, a couple guys, got moved to different positions. I ended up, starting. So I played NC State, and I had 5 catches as a freshman. Then I played Clemson, who was national ranked at the time. I caught a touchdown against them on a man-to-man coverage. We never really practiced to play, but the quarterback hit me on a slant, and I scored my first touchdown. So once after those 2 things happened as a freshman, I thought that football was the right sport for me. Coach Foster had me working out with the basketball team a little bit in my freshman year. Coach K tried to get me to play a little basketball when he came, but I ran track junior and senior year to help me get ready for the NFL. So football was the way after freshman year. And in college, you can't do all of them with the academics, especially at Duke. You couldn't do all the sports. So,
and when I interview my athletes, I tried to let them tell the transition, how it was from high school level sports to the college level. What was the difference that you seen?
Well, I went in at 18 years old into at Duke, and I went to the summer transitional program, and I started lifting weights. I never lifted, and I got a little bit bigger from 160 to about maybe 165. By the end of the season, I was 188, but the difference was I was playing against grown men. Some guys had redshirted. They were 23 years old. They were older than 22. So I'll give you an example. The first Oklahoma drill, 2 linemen and 3 linemen, the running back, quarterback, and 2 defensive linemen, a linebacker. So I was a running back to hand the ball to me. And in high school, they called me Dancing Bear because nobody really could tackle me. I could shake most guys. So I get the ball, and a guy named Carl McGee, who was All-American, he ended up being a 4th-round draft choice for the San Diego Chargers. So he came to hit me, and I shook him and went for a touchdown. Everybody was hooping and hollering. And Coach McGee Carl got off the ground and said, "Coach, run that thing again." So I ran it again, and then he knocked me onto the film tower. The ear hole was facing my eye, I was looking out through that. So that was the difference.
He welcomed you in, and
oh yeah, it was Mr. McGee meets Mr. Jones. So just the speed, the size, the strength. At that time, 1978, nobody in North Carolina except for the big schools were lifting weights. So I had to get stronger. I got faster. I matured as an athlete, and these guys knew a lot more about systems, plays and things that we had. And at Weldon High School was, give it to Cedric, give it to Toot, give it to Laverne Bynum, give it to Roy Lee Taylor, and we scored. So there were a lot more intricacies and a lot more plays to learn in college than in high school.
And I see your senior year was like your standout year at Duke. It had 42 catches, 832 yards with 10 touchdowns. Can you remember your best game your senior year?
Best game senior year was probably against Maryland. I think I had 6 catches for 183 yards average. And then I had another game against Virginia. I had 5 for 167 where I averaged 33 yards a catch. So those were probably my best games. And my junior year, I had a hamstring injury that I tweaked. And I knew I could play, but other guys in the ACC were getting the accolades. And I really worked out hard during the summer. I ran 4 miles a day. I lifted. I was on the track doing sprint workout. And Coach Spurrier was my offensive coordinator, Steve Spurrier, who later won national championships at the University of Florida. And he said, you remind me of a guy, Gene Washington, who was all-pro, played with him at the San Francisco 49ers. He said, you can be that guy for us. So he gave me workout program, told me what to do, and I did it. I did like twice a day, and I really got in good shape. And I saw the results at the end of the season, became second team All-American, was all ACC that year. I had held the ACC career touchdown record for receiving touchdowns at 21 when I graduated. And every fifth time I touched the ball my senior year, I scored. So it was a remarkable year for me.
And we're going to fast forward a little bit because, I interviewed Kentwan Balmer, and I asked him what was his feeling on draft day. Like, you don't know what pick you go on. You just, the intensity of it. How was it?
Well, it wasn't as big. The draft wasn't as big as it is now. And so, you didn't have an idea. I graduated at Duke and was planning to go to the beach. And then I had I think when the draft happened in April, I was playing with ACC All-Stars in basketball. I went down to Warren County to play with Vince Taylor and some of the other ACC guys because I always worked out the basketball players. They needed a guy. And they were paying me like $800 to go play in that game. And just before I left my apartment, the phone rang. And it was Coach Ron Meyer who drafted me from the Patriots. Said, "Congratulations, we drafted you the first pick of the third round." He said, we drafted you to play opposite Stanley Morgan. I was excited. I went to play in a basketball game. But earlier than that, I was on the phone with the Redskins, who, were 3.5 hours from home. And, I could have played for them, been on 3 Super Bowl teams. And they said, well, we're going to take you either the last pick of the second round, or we have the third pick of the third round. I said, okay. So
teams kind of let you know if they're going to pick you or not.
Yeah, they did on the phone. And so they drafted a guy named Vernon Dean, who had a great career at DB. And then they were going to draft me the third pick of the third round. But the New England picked me the first pick of the third round. So I went to New England, and I've never been to Connecticut or Massachusetts, Rhode Island, any of those states. New York was as far as I'd been, north. So it was an interesting place and kind of grew up there and really enjoyed it. And my parents actually, draft wasn't on television because cable was on certain cable stations. So my parents drove to Rocky Mount to go to Montgomery Ward there and watch the draft. Yeah. We're going way back.
Yeah, way back. That's a throwback right there.
Yeah.
So how was it when you first walked into that stadium, NFL stadium as a rookie?
It was intriguing and intimidating. I'll tell you, the first game preseason, we played the Pittsburgh Steelers, and all my heroes on the Steelers: Franco Harris, Lynn Swann, John Stallworth, and Terry Bradshaw. It was intimidating. And we played at University of Tennessee. They had the World's Fair there that year, and I was so nervous I almost put my jersey on backwards. And Stanley Morgan, who should be in the Hall of Fame, was a great receiver for the Patriots, said, "Hey, listen." He said, if you weren't good like those guys, you wouldn't be here. So stop looking at them in awe and go play the game. So that was the beginning of it for me. But it was intimidating. In college, I played at Michigan. Duke played Michigan, and there were 110,000 people in the stadium. There were more people in all of Halifax County. So I played in some large stadiums. But when you go to pros, it's a different game. Everybody there is, the truth.
And did they have they always got to torment the rookies. Did they do that back then?
Of course they did. They shaved our head. I had a little hair back then, and they shaved us. And, they cut Andre Tippett's eyebrows off. His mustache made it look like Hitler. We had to carry back then you had 8mm film. So you had to carry the film projector to and from the meetings. You had to get up at night, go get the veterans donuts from the break into the cafeteria there on the Bryant College. So they tormented us a little bit. But, once you made the team, it stopped.
And everybody doesn't get to do this, but you played in a Super Bowl. Like, you was at a Super Bowl. Like, how was that feeling?
Well, for me, sports was what I did. So I enjoyed practice, and then games were like a test in school. So I never was nervous for any competition except for the Super Bowl. And looking back on it, I had good reason because we lost 46-10, But I tell people,
the Bears. I think y'all kind of underestimated the Bears.
No, not really. Is we played them early in the year. I think we lost 21-17. So we weren't intimidated by them. But that day they had everything going right, and we had everything going wrong. And there were 3 plays at the beginning of the game that could have changed the outcome of the first half, and probably been a tie ball game, or we would have been ahead. and it would have changed the dynamic of the game. The Bears would have had to throw the ball more than run it. But once they got ahead, they just pummeled us. It felt like that day that they had 22 people on defense and we had 11 on offense. They hit us from everywhere.
Okay, speaking of hitting, who was the hardest hitter you can come up with back in your day on the football
field? Two guys,
field?
one in college. LT hit me when I was at Duke, and he was at Carolina my junior year. It was a 2-minute drill, and I came across the middle, and I made a one-hand catch. And LT was probably about 4 feet away from me when I made that catch. And he hit me, and when he hit me, he didn't even break stride. He just kept running and stepped on my chest, but he hit me. I loosened the front 2 teeth. I cut my lip. My shoulder came out, and I was a little woozy, on the same play. And I remember we went into the locker room, and Coach Spurrier said, "Cedric, you okay?" I said, "Coach, it's going to be a long time before I'm okay." But I did finish the game. I had a couple touchdown catches. The second person in the pros was Ronnie Lott. I was running a shallow route.
One of my
Ronnie
favorites.
weighed 215, and he had those linebacker pads on, and he used to launch his body. So he hit me on the right side of my body, and I bruised a rib on the left side. He hit me so hard. But those are the two hits that I remember, guys that I knew that I had to stay away from if I ever played them again.
And see, 49ers, that's my favorite team. So running lot, I mean, you hit it right on the head right there. So let's talk about the new generation of NFL. How do you like that compared to the old style?
It's a different game. During my era, defense, people focus on defense. You had the great teams as the Steelers, the Dolphins had great defense. The Bears had a great defense. So it was defense. And it got to a point where viewers were tuning out because viewers want to see offense. They want to see points scored.
Offense sells tickets.
It does. Defense wins championships, the offense sells tickets. So I like the game. It's wide open. The athletes now are much more talented than we were because they start working at a young age. They see things on television that we didn't see. When I was a kid, there were 3 stations, NBC, ABC, and CBS. And you saw the sports highlights, the last 10 seconds or 20 seconds of the broadcast. Kids now have 24-hour access to ESPN, CNN, and whatever. So they see guys dunking. They see guys making one-hand catches when they're 5 or 6 years old. So these kids start practicing these things that they see, and they understand how to work out, and nutrition is better. So it's a much more exciting game. The athletes are trained better, nutrition, and I like it. A lot of old timers say, oh, it's not like that. But the guys before them said the same thing. It's a different game. It's softer than it was. Football is football. When a guy hits you with that helmet, you feel it. Whether they can hit you 5 yards off the line or can't hit you.
Right.
When they hit you, they hit. Yeah, so I enjoy watching the game, and I love the young athletes. I mean, they're so athletic, and the things they do are incredible on the field.
And the only thing I would say about the difference is the toughness of the players. Because back then, you had people playing with broke ribs, broke arms, but now a sprained ankle, you out 8 games.
Well, I don't know if we were tougher or we were dumber. Because these guys are smart, They
you might be right.
They realize now everybody's a brand, so they're trying to elongate their careers. They're trying to sustain a 10 to 12 year career where they can make and capitalize as much money as they can. Guys who did what we did, sometimes it shorten your career, but it is different. It's different, and they realize that they have a short window to make a lot of money, and they want to maximize that opportunity. So maybe we were dumber and they were smart.
Like you said, though, they're a brand now. From Odell Beckham to, the Patrick Mahomes, they all over commercials. Like, they got to protect themselves.
Yeah, and it's different. These guys making a game what we made. Most of the guys in my era on my team, you probably made $2.5 to $3 million, total.
Yeah.
In a 10-year career. These guys make, they're making 30, 40, 50 million dollars, $25 million a year.
A season.
Yeah, guys who are drafted in my position now, they start off making $4 million a year. So, my first contract, I made $70,000, $80,000, $90,000. And then, I was playing so well, they doubled it, and I went up to $200,000. But I lived in an area where the taxes were higher. So these guys, when a guy leaves the league now and he's impoverished, it's a shame because he hasn't gotten the right advice, nor has he done the right things with his money. So these guys should never be poor if they play, 8, 9, 10 years when they retire from the league.
And I agree 100%. Like, I think the Mahomes contract, $400 million, like that would have been unheard of 20 years ago.
Absolutely. The highest paid guy on my team when I played made $700,000, and that was Andre Tippett at the time.
Wow. That's just crazy. So you got a favorite player?
Television. Favorite player during my era?
Right now.
Oh, right now, favorite player?
Yeah, right now.
I love Brady, but Mahomes he is so exciting. I love watching him play the game.
What about wide receiver?
Wide receiver. Let's see who. Oh man, there's so many good wide receivers out there. I like Julio Jones. He's terrific. The little guy, Tyreek Hill from Kansas City.
Yeah, fast.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, but I now the receivers are bigger. They're 6'3", 6'4".
Like Mike Evans.
Yeah, just tremendous athletes. Yeah. For me, Julio Jones is one of the great ones. And Megatron, when he played, I love watching him play.
Oh, yeah, Kevin Johnson.
Yeah.
And speaking of Brady, I got to ask you this. Do you think Brady the top quarterback in NFL history?
He has to be. If you based it on leading his teams to championships, he's won 6. He's played in 8 Super Bowls. 2 of those he should have won. The ones he lost, his defense let him down. It wasn't offense. And when you look at the way this guy played the game, and granted, it's a different game than when we played, he's the best.
Yeah.
His numbers, he is the best. And his, last year, what he did at his age, nobody could do that. And he hadn't lost any velocity off his ball. He threw the deep ball. He threw the short ball. And the one thing about Brady and the Patriots is that they won with every imaginable combination. Good tight end, no tight end, running game, no running game. One year they averaged like 1.8 yards per carry. Yeah. Good line, not a good line. Great defense, marginal defense. He won with every combination. Little receivers, big receivers. So you got to give him his due.
And I respect that because I was one of the ones Belichick made Brady. But once he got to Tampa Bay and I seen the same Brady, I was like, oh, yeah, he got to be the GOAT.
Yeah, he has to be. When you look at him, when he first started, I saw the game. I was a national rep in the league office. So I was at the game when he got hurt. And he came in and played well, and I think they lost. And I came home, my twin sons asked me, said, Dad, what do you think about Brady? I said, Drew Bledsoe will never get his job back. It's what he said. I said, that kid has it. Then I worked the AFC Championship game when Troy Brown returned that punt, and Brady was just remarkable in that game. He just was a kid I saw that had it. He had a great feel for the game. He was really intelligent, and he made all of the throws. His accuracy was great. So, Belichick, I think, and Josh McDaniels added to his greatness when he was younger. But, these last 2 or 3 years, he's basically a coach on the field. And Bruce Arians kind of learned that working with him, that I need to give this guy, this is our system. Let's pick the plays that you like and the plays you think will make us successful. And I think they're a great team down there at Tampa Bay. He may win it again this year.
Yeah, and this it's rare to bring your whole team back after a Super Bowl win.
It is, because everybody wants to write a book, write a movie, go capitalize on their name, make some more money. But they've got a special system down there with a special guy playing quarterback. And, you got to be lucky when you win the Super Bowl. Everything went right for them. They got the guys healthy at the end of the season. So this year, who knows? Could be a disaster. Everybody could get injured. So you take the good years with the bad years, but I'd like to see him win another one.
And I know you say you had 2 twin sons. What's their ages?
Cameron and Colin are 33. They played at Duke. My nephew Tyler played at Duke, and my brother Walter played at Duke. So 5 of us played college football and graduated from Duke.
And do your sons, they play sports?
The twins play football at Duke. In the high school, they ran track, played basketball and football. And the youngest is Connor, who is an 8th grader. He plays football, basketball, and baseball. He's an elite baseball player. Plays center field and has got a big bat.
Okay. And when I ask every athlete to come on the show, if it's one thing, like one motivational speech or just a quote or motivation to the youth, what would you tell them about sports if they want to get into sports and it's like they just need that motivation to keep going?
I would tell, there's a quote I had by Napoleon Hill I kept on my desk at Duke, I still have it on my desk here at home, is that whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, he can achieve. So that quote embodies what I think people who are successful in any industry have, is that you must form a picture of yourself, where you want to go, what you want to do, and then you must be committed to doing that. And whenever you tell people what your dream is, if you have people around you don't believe in your dream, you need to get them out of your circle, because they're going to be a detriment to it. For me, I love Weldon, but I didn't think I was going to stay in Weldon all of my life. There were bigger things and better things that I wanted to do in life, and Weldon will always be home for me. But I wanted to see the world. So for young athletes, I tell them to use sport. Don't let sport use them. You must have the combination of the desire, the ability, and most importantly, the academics. Because if you have good grades as an athlete, you can go wherever you want to. If you don't, you got to go to schools that will take you.
And this is piggyback on that. How do you feel about, in football, they don't do it, but this one and done in college basketball? Like, how do you feel about that? Talking about academics.
It was hard for me to swallow this when it first happened, because I know and I've seen, as professional athletes who play 1 year in the pros, don't make it through training camp, who were first round draft choice, they get injured, and then they don't have anything. If you have your degree, that stays with you for life. So I was worried about those guys, but now with the money, I had a friend of mine, his son got drafted in the 4th round, and his signing bonus was $4 million. So what do you think? I said, he's got to go. Where else is he going to make $4 million?
Right.
So he didn't go to college. He's played about 10 years in the pros now. But the one and done is a phenomenon that, you just have to embrace. It's the way of the world now. For kids talented enough to play in the pros, you have to let them. I compare it to this. If you were an engineer at A&T and your sophomore year, one of the companies came to you and said, listen, we're going to pay you $500,000 to become an engineer. You don't have to graduate from college, but we're going to pay you $500,000. You would go.
You would take it.
You would take it. So, we have to embrace this. But the thing that we have to do is put a structure in place. So if these guys do fail, they can come back to school, they can get their degrees, and they can go forward. But if those things aren't in place, then it's a detriment to the athletes who don't make it. A lot haven't made it.
And I think they're going to get away from the one and done, because it's kind of hurting the college. It's like it's hurting them, because all the dynasties, it's no more dynasties in college, because the one and done. So I'm thinking they're going to change it and straight out of high school like they used to do.
Yeah, and I think you can go out of high school, and then once you go to college like baseball, you have to play 2 years, and once you're a junior, then you can re-enter the draft. I like to see that structure. College isn't for everybody, but it's something that I think everybody should experience. Right. Because you're living on your own, you're learning more about things you didn't know. You meet people from all over the country. So, for these guys, let's give them a base. And for me, I would restructure the college system. If a guy wants to go and he wants to be an athlete, let's develop a certificate program where they at least have some marketable skill, whether it's plumbing, whether it's electrician, whatever it is.
Yeah, a trade.
A trade, absolutely. So that they can learn that. And let's say what it is, because if it's a good player, he's going to the pros no matter what.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. So okay, you got the student athlete program on the right side, and the other side is the certification program where they get some type of skill. So if it doesn't work out, they have something to fall back on.
And do you think, I know they're trying to work on it now, paying college players, you think that'll keep them?
Well, the name, image, and likeness is a tricky problem, because schools like Notre Dame, Alabama, Oklahoma, Ohio State, those type of schools, their alums and the program has unlimited resources. So they can say, Cordell, you come to school here and we're going to give you a deal with a car dealership. So how do you keep equity across the board in that? And I don't think that, everybody's not going to monetize this name, image, and likeness.
No,
only the big time players, the quarterback. And, you can create some dissent amongst the players. The pretty boy quarterback's getting a $200,000 deal to say he drives a Chevrolet with his dealership. Yeah. I block for him and I'm not getting anything. So how do you manage that? How do you manage, equity across the board that is done the right way? So we'll see where it goes. But the one thing that's going to help the colleges is that as an athlete, And if they do have a deal, they can't use the college's name and image. It has to be their own. They can't use the logos from the schools. So I think that'll help the schools. But, the schools have made so much money for a long time. Conversely, it's time for the athletes to benefit from this in college.
And I agree 100%. Well, Mr. Jones, this has been an amazing morning. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. And if I can do anything to help you, let me know.
Oh, yeah. And I'll be bringing you on. I think I'm going to bring you back football season so we can talk a little football.
Love to do it. I love to talk ball. I work in the business world now, so I rarely get to talk ball. So I look forward to doing that.
Yeah, and I'm going to keep you up to that.
All right.
I appreciate your morning. Go on and enjoy your day, and I'll talk to you later.
All right. Take care. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Championship Circle. God bless.